Hi, grade 5 teachers. Mary Kay McGarvey back again. We are going to look at this second topic in theme 4 with finalizing multiplication and division. And we're going to look at the second part of this topic, which is finalizing division with whole numbers. So a couple things to think about. Definitely using that data from theme 1 to kind of remember what strategies your students were successful using. You can also think about division with decimals and what strategies were your students successful using and how we can continue to apply and work on those strategies. Once again, definitely utilize these progressions from Graham-Fletcher. A great way to kind of see where they're coming from and where they're going with division, as well as these NBT CRA mats to check out those different strategies. Couple things. Thinking about the progression of division in 5th grade, we're going to have that added tier introduced to us with these essential tasks, thinking about remainders. So we're going to have some greater numbers than we maybe did in theme 1, and we're also going to have that addition of remainders that we did not see in theme 1. So just kind of something to keep in mind and watch out for. They did learn about remainders in 4th grade. And they did a lot of work with interpreting remainders in 4th grade. So kind of continuing that conversation from 4th grade, thinking about what is the remainder? Is there a remainder? How does that impact my problem? How will that impact my answer, right? Do we need to, how will my answer adjust? For example, if I'm going on a field trip, kids need buses, everybody has to go on. Do I need to order another bus? That kind of idea. So let's kind of dive in here. Once again, we're going to be looking at essential tasks 74 through 77. Looking at essential task 74, we're going to start off just like we did in theme 1, looking at that relationship between multiplication and division. So how can I use that fact family? How can I use that understanding to help me understand how I can use some of these multiplication strategies to solve some of these division problems? So they're going to choose any of these 3 numbers. They're going to create that fact family, and they're going to create a visual representation. So the joy with all these numbers here is students can kind of self-scaffold depending on their readiness. So maybe they pick 3, 4, and 12, and that's where their readiness is to create their models, and that's where their comfort level is, versus some other students who may pick some greater factors. Totally up to you. You might want to narrow it down. You might want to change these factors. You might want to have less, whatever works for you. And then we're going to share these models that they create to show this fact family, and really consider that area model, array model, thinking maybe partial quotients is a more successful strategy. So maybe you want to share partial quotient, partial product, whatever works for you. Once again, just like in multiplication, students can take a picture of the model that they make, or they could use any of these math apps to help show their models. Now we're going to dive into a multiplication problem, really thinking about what information is known, what information is unknown. How do I know I'm dividing? What would be a reasonable estimate? And what is that related multiplication fact? And how can that multiplication fact help us make that model? So just kind of thinking about that, we do have an area model here. There is a video from LearnZillion to show that area model, and consider taking some student work and highlighting maybe partial quotients to the area model, and how are they similar, how are they different. The other option is a student might be still making arrays, so you could also do an array compared to an area model. Once again, we can drag and drop these to show those similarities and highlight those partial quotients, those dividends, divisors. You might need to change the order, just like we did for multiplication. So you might have to highlight, right-click, order. You might need to send these to the front if you put in your own picture. And when you you could put in your own picture, order, send back. And that way that'll keep these little highlighting guys up at the front, and you'll be able to utilize that tool to help make those connections. There are, just like for multiplication, this is all based on student readiness. So there's a bunch of Ready Common Core videos that you could utilize. There's a bunch of pages of the Ready Common Core student book that you could utilize. really pick what's the most appropriate for your students and their learning at this time. It's going to vary from school to school, class to class, student to student, so do what works best. There's also some extra practice slides here to help guide some of that practice and student time and even utilizing for small group. Here we go on to 75, where we're going to be starting similar to what we did in multiplication, looking at an area model, looking at partial quotients. How are they similar? How are they different? We can once again use these to kind of highlight some of that thinking and showing those connections for our students as we go. There also is, we can also use blank strategy slides if you need to. We can also utilize this Learn Zillion video to highlight similarities and differences between the strategies to help. But we're really thinking about how are the products represented, how are the quotients, the divisors, the dividends, how are all of those represented? How is that similar? How is that different? We have another problem here, thinking in known information, unknown information, what is reasonable, how is it related to multiplication? If you need a quick refresher on the importance of relating it to multiplication and that fact family to build that array or that area model, I highly recommend going back to theme 1 in that first topic and checking that out because you did do a lot of work with that at the beginning of the year. And once again, we have some practice here. So here we jump into Essential Task 76. We're really just going to continue to practice. Practice, making connections, utilizing those strategies, having our students think about, here we have them making a connection to partial quotients, and utilizing some of those Learn Zillion videos to help highlight some of those strategies and work through those strategies. We really want students here. What is an efficient strategy for us? What is an effective strategy for us? It might look different for all of our students. So please feel free to edit, add, change, do whatever you need. Last essential task, they're going to, and once again, you'll notice this is all based on student readiness and your class. And I just wanted to point this out that especially as we go through these essential tasks, your students might be in a variety of places with their readiness and what is efficient and what is effective for them. It is totally okay if instead of doing this whole group, you want to break students down into smaller groups and work with them based on their readiness and based on their where they are in that progression. So just kind of something to keep in mind that some of these might look a little different than our traditional lessons. Once again, practice, making those connections. These are here. Please feel free to change these because this is not the only way to do an area model or partial quotients. Once again, we can have that partitioned differently. So just kind of keep that in mind as you go. Different strategies. You'll notice here, these last two are focusing a little bit more on, these last two essential tasks have a little bit more on that partial quotient strategy. Once again, do what is best for your students, do what they're being successful using. Some practice problems there, some slides that you can utilize. So that is the end of this topic, finalizing division. Please let us know if you have any questions and have fun dividing.